Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome once again to No DQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel. This is episode number 374 of No DQ&A video. WWE Hell in the Cell is this coming Sunday, live on pay-per-view. Check out NoDQ.com for play-by-play results as well as news and spoilers. With that being said, let's get right down to your questions. First one today comes from NoDQ&AV. First time asker from Finland. When is Rey Mysterio coming back? And do you think he should form a duo with Sin Cara? I personally would love to see it. Love your show. By the way, please answer in video. Well, first off, he was already part of a tag team with Sin Cara, and time will tell if those two are reunited as a tag team. It's definitely possible if WWE doesn't have a set plan for Rey Mysterio, but I'm thinking that when Mysterio comes back, they'll most likely put him in singles action, maybe do another feud with Alberto Del Rio. And Rey Mysterio should be back at any time now. I think it's been good that they're not rushing to bring him back because that's just going to risk him getting hurt. It's best to let him heal 100% before you bring him back. So, you know, I think they're doing the right thing, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure the rumors will start up again for WrestleMania 30, Rey Mysterio versus Sin Cara. I think it's been rumored now for the past 3 straight years. And I'm sure it'll happen again for WrestleMania 30, all the talk about Mysterio versus Sin Cara. I don't know if it's going to ever happen or not. I'll believe it when I see it. All right, this one comes from Amy Likes Candy 94. What do you think of Brad Maddox? I personally like him, but how far do you think he'll go in the WWE? I like the character. I think that Brad Maddox does a good job in the heel general manager role. But beyond that, I don't know if he's going to have a long-term future. When I look at Brad Maddox, I think of a 1980s WWF manager, somebody like Jimmy Hart. He's this pipsqueak character who comes out and runs his mouth, and you just want to see somebody beat the crap out of him. So I don't know if fans would ever be able to take him seriously as a wrestler. You look at somebody like Armando Estrada, he did a great job as a manager, but once they started having him wrestle, it just didn't work, and he only lasted a few weeks in that role. So, I could see the same thing happening with Brad Maddox. Once the general manager thing runs its course, maybe they could put him in a manager role. Maybe they could have him as an advisor to somebody, but beyond that, I just don't know how far he would go. All right, this next one comes from Shicky Diggy Bang. Hey Aaron, which wrestlers do you think the IWC overrates? Personally, I think they overrate Drew McIntyre way more than he deserves, and while I really like Bray Wyatt, I think he may be a candidate as well. What about you? Well, definitely Bray Wyatt was a guy who had a lot of buzz when they were showing the vignettes, hyping up the group coming in, but once he started wrestling, all that hype and talk quickly fizzled out, and Drew McIntyre, part of it is WWE just didn't utilize him properly. So, maybe he could have been more than he ended up being. One guy I think the IWC does overrate, and I know people aren't going to like this, but William Regal. With all due respect to him, he's a tremendous wrestler, and, I think he's very entertaining as a mid-card comedy heel. But I think to say that he should have been world champion is a bit of a stretch. And, all of the people on the internet say, William Regal should have been world champion. WWE gave him a good push. He did win the King of the Ring, and then he got suspended. And, he has nobody to blame but himself for that one. So, I think that he was an entertaining character, but I don't think he had enough charisma or an interesting character to be a headliner, and that's just my personal opinion. Great talent, but I don't think he was world championship material. All right, this one comes from Crusade King. If WWE can't get Goldberg for WrestleMania 30, could you see WWE building Ryback versus Brock Lesnar? Seeing how Ryback is the new Heyman guy, this could set up Brock wanting his spot back, or turn Lesnar face and go after Ryback. Well, I think that Brock Lesnar might turn face at some point. That is one option for WWE, to have him go babyface and have him feud with some of the heels. But, to put it in Triple H's words, Ryback is not an A+ player. maybe a C at best. I don't know. But WWE sees Brock Lesnar as an A-plus guy. They're only going to put an A-plus guy against other A-plus guys. So unless Ryback gets to that level by WrestleMania, which I think is unlikely, I don't see that match happening. They're paying Brock Lesnar a lot of money, so they want to get the most value out of him, and the most value is putting him in there with the very best of the best and the top guys, the top tier superstars. So I think it's unlikely that they do that match. If Brock Lesnar was more of a regular, and he was around more often, I could definitely see them doing that match, but not when he's working a very limited schedule. All right, this one comes from Anthony TD35138. Hopefully, I didn't botch those numbers if they're important. Do you see a formation of a corporate faction in TNA since Dixie is now the heel president of TNA? And who would be the members of that faction? And do you see that faction working because the Aces and Eights are just about dead at this point? It's TNA, so I think in all likelihood it will end up being a faction, and they already have Ethan Carter III as the nephew of Dixie. But I really hope they stop doing factions for a while. I mean, it's just enough is enough. Now you have the Ego group, and I love Danielson, Kazarian, and Bobby Roode, but I'm really tired of the factions. Can TNA go just 6 months without a faction? I mean, that's the big question here. And, having yet another heel group, it's just overkill, and it's just repeating the same basic storyline over and over again. So I really hope they aren't going in that direction. All right, this one comes from Andy452. Hey, Aaron, first time asker, but I love the show and your input. Thank you for that. There was a report that the PG era has been paying off since 2007, from $7 to $20 million in revenue. Your thoughts, because it really amazed me. Please answer in video. Well, it doesn't surprise me that WWE's making money from being PG. I mean, WWE, by going PG, they're able to appeal to a broader audience, and they're able to get more sponsorships. And there's really no need to push the envelope like they used to. I mean, during the Monday Night Wars, they had to do something to compete with Ted Turner and WCW. And one area where they could expand the product was to make it more adult oriented, and WCW couldn't do that because they were under the Ted Turner umbrella. So that's one area where WWE had an advantage over WCW. But once the Monday Night Wars ended and WWE won, I mean, why keep doing all this stuff that can alienate your sponsors and limit the amount of money you can make? So I mean, it made sense for WWE to tone down the product for a number of reasons, financially, and not doing the chair shots to the head, and toning down the violence to protect the wrestlers and keep them healthy and keep them living longer. So I mean, it is a plus in a lot of ways, and yes, it does limit WWE's creativity a little bit, but they can still come up with interesting storylines in a PG environment. All right, this one comes from the Potato Lord. You say that TNA needs to do something big to gain an audience. What sort of something are you referring to? Can you please clarify? Well, I think Bound for Glory needed a big water cooler moment where when Bound for Glory was over, people the next day at their jobs would talk to their coworkers and say, hey, did you guys see in TNA Bound for Glory? I mean, that show was amazing. If you didn't see it, you need to check it out. And Bound for Glory did not have that moment. Maybe a really great card of matches might have been something TNA needed, where people could say, hey, they had a really awesome pay-per-view. Maybe they're starting to get back on track. It was just another TNA pay-per-view. It wasn't really anything special about it. Maybe have a big heel turn or something. I mean, I think the main event was fine to have AJ win and keep that storyline going. But I just wish there was something that they did that would have gotten a lot of people talking and generated a lot of buzz. And I don't know if there was really anything they could have done, but I think the one thing you could have definitely done was had a really great show in terms of the quality of matches, and they just didn't have that. All right, that'll do it for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Next episode is 375. It will be an extended edition of No DQ&A video. So get your questions in spring.me/AaronRift, and I will see you guys next time for more No DQ&A video. And you're probably wondering why it's ending so soon, and that's because I'm doing another question now. So make sure you stay tuned and don't turn off the video in the future. This one comes from Wraith Wolf 007. With the constant goat face remarks directed towards Daniel Bryan and Triple H's remarks about Jericho, RVD, and Edge not being the face of the WWE, does it seem like that narrow view shows how to touch they are on the talent? Here's my take on that whole Triple H promo from Raw. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. Did Triple H bury Daniel Bryan there? Here's what I think. If this is going to lead to something, if this is going to lead to a Triple H versus Daniel Bryan match where Daniel Bryan beats Triple H clean in the middle, then I'm perfectly fine with the heel remarks. Triple H coming out there and saying that Daniel Bryan is not that top tier guy, and neither were the Jerichos and RVDs and Edges. That's just Triple H being a heel. But if this isn't going to lead to anything, and Daniel Bryan's going to, in a couple months, go right back to being the upper mid-card guy, then I think it's really bad for business. I think that it is burying the guy. That's how I generally feel about these kind of remarks on television. If it's being done for business and it's going to lead to something, then it's fine. But if you're just talking trash about a guy on television and it's not part of a future storyline and it's not going anywhere, then it is burying the guy, and it's totally unnecessary and not needed. And hopefully it is going to lead to a Triple H. I mean, that's what I got out of it when Triple H came out there and said that stuff. It made me think that they're going to eventually have that match at some point, and that's what it's leading to. So time will tell, and we'll see if it's Triple H doing something that's going to generate money, or if it's just him continuing to feed his ego. I mean, if it was just done randomly for no reason other than Triple H just wanting to bury him, then I mean, it was really bad because it made the company look bad because he mentioned Brock Lesnar and Undertaker and The Rock, and those guys aren't around. Daniel Bryan is around, and you're basically saying that your top guy isn't as good as the guys from the past, and that's just bad business. So we'll see what happens with it. All right, that'll do it. See you guys next time.